Well, I think I actually might be buying a truck. And not just any truck. It's a truck that I think might actually be the best truck ever made. And no, it's not going to be one of these overpriced F-150s for $80,000. It's a truck that I think is 1,000 times better and $50,000 cheaper. Because I believe most new trucks are a total ripoff right now. But before I get into the truck, let me explain how I got to this point, because I thought I would never say those words. I think I'm buying a pickup truck. Over the last few weeks, I've been on the hunt for something to replace my Jeep Wrangler as a daily. I need something that's more comfortable on long drives and can also tow at least 8,000 pounds or more. First, I looked at a Bronco Raptor, and while that was fun, it tows less than what I need. Then I test drove a new Nissan Armada, and that was number one on my list. It was super comfortable and has the towing capacity that I need. But before I make a final decision, I wanted to check out a few trucks that I think could be good options as well. And I'll tell you what, I think I just found the best truck ever made, and it might be something that I'll actually think is worth buying. So in this video, I want to take you truck shopping with me, and I'll show you what I personally think is the best truck ever made. Now, obviously you can't make a video about the best trucks ever made without going to Ford, as they sell the most trucks of any manufacturer every single year. And of course, there's one truck that stands out as their best seller, and that's the Ford F-150. Pretty much every year since the beginning of trucks, which Ford invented, the F-150 has been the #1 selling, I'd say, single truck since the beginning of time. Nobody's ever beat it, ever. The F-150 just keeps being the sales leader. So obviously, you have to take a look at the F-150. And the F-150 is in like a pretty interesting spot because, well, there's a few reasons why. And I'll start with one of the biggest reasons, and I'll show you right now. So of course the F-150 has to be on the list of best trucks, but there are certain, I would say, trim levels and specs that stand out from the rest. One of them would be the F-150 trimmer. This is one of my favorite trim levels of F-150. But of course, whenever you start looking at the cool trim levels of trucks and not the base models, they do get pretty expensive. And there's also a truck that is my absolute favorite of the F-150 that's a bit older, because we're of course going to look at new and older trucks, because the one that's actually what I think is the best truck ever made is an older truck. However, the F-150 trimmer I think is the coolest trim levels, but it is one of the most expensive. If you wanted this Avalanche gray one right here with the 3.5 EcoBoost, you're going to spend $69,840, and that's before any discounts. Usually they've got about like anywhere from 5 to 8 grand off of these trucks right now, but we're not going into that details. This is just a video about the best truck. And of course, if you wanted to go down to like an XLT that also has the 3.5 EcoBoost, you're looking at $57,485, and that's for brand new. But if I was to get an F-150, I actually wouldn't get it with the 3.5 liter EcoBoost. There's a different engine that I think is a little bit better. So they actually happen to have the specific Ford engine that I'm talking about on this lot. It's really hard to find. I had to look at every single window sticker, and that would be this one right here. Now, it is a lower trim level with the FX4, but it's got the engine that I think you would prefer, and I'll explain why. This has the 5-liter Coyote V8 engine, but if you want this over the EcoBoost V6, you're going to spend $2,340 extra. So I kind of think it's funny that we live in a world now where the EcoBoost motor is completely free, and if you wanted the V8, you got to pay over $2,300 for it. But there's a reason I would choose one of these F-150s with the Coyote V8 over any of the other F-150 engine options. And that's going to be longevity and ease of maintenance, because a lot of these turbo motors and even some of the more expensive F-150s that have the hybrid, they are really hard to work on. And especially if you have the hybrid version of the truck, if anything goes wrong, it's so complicated that you basically have no choice but to bring it in for service. And sometimes if the hybrid systems are down, the batteries are dead, it's got to be towed in. You can't even do anything unless you tow it into the dealer. With the Coyote V8, it's easy to work on, it's less maintenance, they do last a long time with specific year models. There was a couple years there with the Coyote V8 that were really bad, but right now if you buy a newer Coyote V8 within the last 5 years, you're going to be pretty good. So ease of maintenance, the cost of parts being less expensive, and just if you're a garage mechanic, you can work on a Coyote V8 in one of these F-150s And for the long-term reliability, I think it's just a better choice. Now, there is one F-150 that is really, really hard to find. It's not on this lot or honestly any of the lots in the area. But as far as best F-150 you can buy, ever made, if we're talking about ever made, that would be the OG first generation F-150 Raptor. There's no doubt that the Ford F-150 Raptor is an incredible truck. You can jump it, you can run over curbs, and yes, you can even just take it to Costco if that's something that you like doing. But there's two issues that I have with this specific Raptor, and one of them is the twin turbo 6-cylinder, and the other is the price. You're looking at $83,750 for one of these new ones, and like I said, it's not the best Raptor engine that you can buy. They do have a Raptor R version with the supercharged V8. However, that is over like $100,000, even close to $110,000. Of course, you could get the Ranger Raptor like this one here in this pretty cool sand dune color, and it's a lot cheaper. You're looking at 20 grand less at $59,360. But when it comes to any of these Raptors, I think the best Raptor version ever made is the OG first generation with the V8. Those are just really great trucks, and I think if you were going to look at a Raptor, or if I was going to look at a Raptor, that's the one that I would get because it's easy to work on, it's already depreciated, and it has a really good V8 engine, and if you wanted to supercharge it, you can buy that and add it on as well. The F-150 is, in my opinion, not the best truck ever made. And that brings us to the second brand here. So I want to take a minute right here in this part of the video to show you something that I think is really, really cool. And I'm currently in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm on a road trip with my mom, and she actually brought her cat with her. And because animals always make messes in cars, that's where today's sponsor, LastFit, comes in. LastFit floor mats are made from eco-friendly, odorless, and long-lasting TPE materials. So not only are they strong, they're also very easy to clean. And LastFit doesn't just sell floor mats. They also have bed liners and cargo mats as well. In the rear hatch right here, you can see that she's got a bunch of stuff around, but we had the cat here in a little cage here. She had a litter box sitting right here on this side. And because animals are messy and there's litter and all that stuff, you can see that the floor mat caught a lot of the dust off the cat and the dirt, and some of the litter dust is kind of right here that got out of the box. And this LastFit floor mat has held up really, really well. But she didn't just get a cargo area protector. She's also got LastFit floor mats on the driver's side here. And as you can see, it goes all the way over the edge, all the way up underneath the pedals there, and over here on the left footrest covers your entire foot. And then of course you've got the edge that protects here, and of course this little lip here underneath the seat that makes it hard for anything to fall off of your seat into the carpet. LastFit has mats for just about any car, truck, or SUV. So if you want to protect your vehicle from dirt and damage, then I highly recommend you grab some floor mats or cargo area protection from LastFit. Just click one of the links below in the description to grab a set for yourself. And make sure to use code AUGD1 at checkout for a discount. Thanks to LastFit for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. Now, obviously, when we're shopping for the best truck ever made, we can't just look at the F-150. There's a lot of other brands that we need to take a look at. And there's some specific trucks from some of these brands that I actually found in the used section of the Ford lot. And one of those is this right here. This is kind of a weird outlier as far as best trucks go. And that's the new Ram RHO. There's some pluses and minuses to this RHO, and I want to talk about each one of them. The first one being, I think, one of the minuses to this truck. Obviously, the Ram RHO is supposed to be like a baby Ram TRX. It's more affordable, the price is lower. It basically looks the same as a Ram TRX. I mean, it's got the wide fenders, the big tires, and you can still jump in and do all the fun shenanigans. However, my least favorite thing about the RHO is that it does have the Hurricane twin turbo engine instead of the supercharged V8. Now, obviously, you're not gonna get a Ram TRX for $77,995. And that was Ram's idea of putting the high output Hurricane engine in kind of a baby TRX. And sure, it's fun, but my cousin has a Ram TRX in like that blue color, and I've driven it, and just the torque and horsepower and the supercharger whine when you put your foot down to the floor, I think that makes one of the better trucks to buy. But when I'm talking about best trucks to buy, you also gotta factor reliability into this equation. a twin turbo engine or a supercharged V8 is definitely not going to be the most reliable thing. It's also going to be more of a pain in the butt to work on. But there is another version of the Ram truck that is high on the list of best truck ever made. And that's going to be the Ram Rebel. And not just any Ram Rebel. If you're going to get one, you need to go used, and here's the main reason why. So this Ram is obviously on the used side of their lot, and it's a 2023 for $41,995. Now the reason that I tell you if you're going to buy a Ram as one of the best trucks to buy, you need to go with a used, and that's because they're going to have the Hemi 5.7 liter V8 in it. The last year or two of the Ram Rebels have that twin turbo Hurricane engine, which is going to be more high maintenance, harder to work on in your garage, and also a new one is more expensive. And the 5.7 liter has a lot of inexpensive parts. They're easy to work on, but the one caveat and why this Ram Rebel is not the #1 best truck ever made on the list is the Ram does have a history of some problems. They don't really last like hundreds of thousands of miles without something major going wrong. At some point, you're going to have some lifter failures or camshaft failures or rocker arm things go wrong in the head of the motor, and that really doesn't work well for longevity. So while the Ram Rebel with the Hemi 5.7 liter is higher on my list, it's still not the #1 truck as far as what I think is called the best truck ever made. And speaking of trucks that have a lot of engine problems, there's a brand in here that I personally have never owned, and I don't really know if I would actually ever own one, because this is probably the bottom of the list for best trucks ever made. And I think when I show you what I'm talking about, you'll understand. And that would be any of these Chevy trucks or the GMC that you see right here. While it's a good looking truck, especially in this AT4 trim level, it's got one thing that you really need to watch out for, which completely takes it off of the list of best trucks ever made. That would be any of the models with the 6.2 liter V8 engine. They have just had so many issues with bottom ends completely failing, either locking up while people are driving on the road or shooting pistons and rods out the side of the block. It just has catastrophic failures, and some of them have been failing even at just a few hundred miles, which is pretty crazy, and it keeps those trucks with the 6.2s off of the list of best trucks ever made. Now you can get one with a Turbo Max on the GMC or Chevy, but I don't think I need to explain the reasons why I would advocate for a 4-cylinder turbo motor in a heavy freaking full-size pickup truck. I think me just saying that, you understand every reason why you don't want to do that. But I'm really sorry I had to do that to you, GM. Even the other smaller displacement Chevy motors in their V8s, like the, what is it, the 5.3, they have head problems with failures there too, lots of noises and stuff. But yeah, sorry GMC and Chevy, right now you can't be on the list. But there's another interesting truck that's on the list that most of you probably forgot about. Now for the next truck on this list, I'm actually here at a CarMax lot, kind of in the back, because the truck I want to show you is on the back of this lot. As you can see, they got a whole row of trucks right back here. I'm also on my iPhone because I don't know if they really want me filming at CarMax, so I'm just gonna iPhone it for this one, so it might sound a little bit different or look a bit different. But I want to show you the truck on the list that I feel like is probably one of the best bang for your buck trucks that you can get, and it's also one of the best ever made. It's high up on the list. It's not the best, I'll show you that next, but it is really high on that list for a lot of specific reasons. And that one is going to be the Nissan Titan, and not just any Nissan Titan, this specific version of the Titan right here, and that would be the Pro 4X. And there are a ton of reasons why I think the Pro 4X is probably one of the best trucks ever made, and it comes down to a few certain things. And honestly, there are 3 big reasons why this is one of the best trucks that you can buy right now. And people forget about this truck because they're not making it anymore, and that's unfortunate. I think the Titan, especially the Pro 4X, never got the attention that it deserved. Now, one of the big reasons why this is at the top of the list for best truck ever made is under the hood right here. And if you look at the window sticker, that's because it has a 5.6 liter V8 engine. Now, a lot of people think that Nissan is unreliable, and that's actually really not the case. They do make a lot of really reliable vehicles, and the Titan with the V8 engines is probably one of the most reliable vehicles they made. Not only is the V8 really powerful with over 400 horsepower, but it's also really reliable, and it's easy to work on. That's the problem a lot of these new trucks have, and I mentioned that before, is they are so hard to work on. With all their hybrid systems and turbos, they're just kind of a pain in the butt for regular maintenance. But when it comes to the Titan with their V8 engine, this thing is easy to work on, it's pretty reliable, and in today's market with all the hybrids and turbos, I think it's a really great option. And not to mention, number two is the interior. So if we just step over here into the Nissan Titan interior, I think this is really underrated. It is a very clean interior, starting with the door panel, really nice. Everything's functional, easy to get to. The seats are really comfortable in the Pro 4X. And as you step into it, it's got a lot of things that I love about trucks that are a few years older. It's got the analog gauges on the left and the right side with just enough information on the electronic screen to not be a nuisance. Plus, the screen is just a good size. You're not watching TV on this. You're just using it for music and navigation, and you plug in your Apple CarPlay and this is good to go. One of the cool things about the Pro 4X on the Titan is also that everything is so simple. It's straight to the point. It's a truck, and it doesn't try to be more than that. It's not trying to be this overhyped luxury hybrid vehicle. It just does good truck stuff. You've got a gear lever here to shift in the old column style with the tow mode button. You change your four-wheel drive with the switch right here. You do have a start stop button. And then all of the other buttons are just simple. Everything is a button. There's no navigation in the screen that you have to endlessly scroll into to get anything done. And then last but not least, one of the things that I absolutely love and think is a huge plus on the Titan, especially the Pro 4X, it is the best bang for your buck, because look at this price. This only has 44,000 miles on it, and even at CarMax, which sometimes charges a lot, it's $34,998. So you can get a 400 horsepower V8 pickup truck in the Pro 4X with 44,000 miles for just under $35,000. And this is probably the bargain of the century. So I think, as far as myself, this is really at the top of the list for best truck ever made. It's number two, and now it's time that we finally get to number one. This is a really good option, by the way, and it's really a toss-up between the number two truck, the Nissan Titan, and the number one, which I'm about to show you right now. Now we're finally here at what I personally think is one of the best trucks ever made, and I'm talking about like the history of every single truck ever made, and it's the one that I'm actually thinking about buying to replace my Jeep Wrangler as a daily and a tow vehicle, and for long road trips, obviously. And that's going to be right here, the previous gen Toyota Tundra, because there's a few very specific things on this generation Toyota Tundra that really stand out and make it one of the best trucks ever made in the history of the world and trucks in general. And I want to start with one of the main reasons why I would choose this Toyota Tundra as the best truck ever made. But the main reason to buy this generation Tundra lies right underneath the hood right here. And that would be Toyota's 5.7 liter iForce V8 engine. Now, if you're thinking about buying a truck like I am, there's a lot of reasons why I personally think you should consider this previous generation Tundra with the 5.7 liter V8. Number one is the reliability. You know, going to the new Tundras, the twin turbo 6s have a lot of issues, and they're just not very reliable, at least right now. Hopefully Toyota sorts all that out. They are replacing engines and they seem to be doing okay for now. But when it comes to longevity, this 5.7 liter V8 has been known to go as far as 1 million miles in some trucks without even being rebuilt. But there is a caveat to that. You do have to make sure you keep up with routine maintenance. And of course, the second thing about this 5.7 liter V8, obviously it's super reliable. but it's also very easy to work on. As you can see, there's not a bunch of hoses and wires cluttering the whole top area. You take this cover off and you can get to everything that you need. The airbox is simple to remove. The fan for the radiators right here, you can get to it. All the hoses are easy to get to. AC lines, I mean, this is a wiring harness and the fuel injectors are right here. It's just so simple to work on. And you can easily fix it in your garage. All these hybrid motors with batteries and backup batteries and turbo motors with plumbing and oil leaks and piping and added heat and stress to the motor are more hard to work on and fix, and also more expensive. And now there's also a few other reasons why I like this truck, and that is simplicity. Let me show you what I mean by stepping into the interior right here. I like the simplicity of the interior of this truck. You've got mostly analog gauges with a digital screen in the middle, and you've got a smaller screen system here that isn't overwhelming the dashboard like you're watching TV in the middle of your drive. And you can also update the screen to something a little bit more modern if you wanted to. But the simplicity of this interior, it just kind of gets me. You know, new trucks are so fancy, so complicated. There's so much crap, like electronic crap, that can go wrong with them. I think just going back to the basics of what a truck is and what a truck should be is the way to go. You don't need to overcomplicate things that just require more maintenance and more money down the road. They just hurt your wallet way too much. In this version of the Tundra being so simple, really gets me super excited about the potential of owning a truck. It's also just got a regular old lever gear shifter, and your four-wheel drive selector is right here, and that's super simple. You also got your tow haul button right here, traction control and parking sensors off in case you're doing some four-wheel drive stuff. Unlike the Ram truck that has like that little dial selector over to the right side of the steering wheel, which I kind of don't like very much. So like I said, simple, effective, and functional is the only way to go in a truck. And of course, there's another thing that we need to talk about, and that is the price of, say, buying a used V8 Tundra with a little bit higher mileage. I'm talking about anywhere from $70,000 and up, compared to buying a new one that's like $78,000. So this specific model is a pretty high trim 1794 edition, and it is a 2015. It has 66,937 miles, and this dealership is asking $39,995. So 40 grand for a used V8 Tundra with under 70,000 miles in this market is not bad at all. And these actually really hold their resale value. So if you were to buy this, you know, put it up to 100,000 miles, you could probably still get low to mid 40s for this thing when you decided to sell it down the road. So that's going to do it for today's video. What are your thoughts on me buying a previous generation Tundra with the V8 like this one? And especially the one that I really want to get is the either TRD Pro, if I can find one, or at least a TRD Off-Road, maybe in white or that kind of like nice baby bluish color. There's also that kind of TRD green. If I can find one in any of those other colors, I think that would be the one to get. I don't really like the 1794 edition. I need a little bit more of the off-road version and not the fancy city truck. So anyways, I'm Matt with MotorFeed. If you made it this far into the video, please hit subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you in the next video.